Good evening and welcome to another episode of Apolitically Incorrect Guyana. My name is KIAN Jabbour. As usual, I am your host this evening. We are sorry for the little bit of a late start. Not anyone's particular fault, because what I have is my wonderful guest today, Mr. Francis Bailey, on with me, and he brought me this honey so that he has bribed his way into why he came late.
Yeah, I was harvesting honey actually. So
excellent,
yeah.
excellent. Well, it's here, Bailey's Bees. So tell me, where can we get this?
I don't sell it in shops. 80% of the honey in Guyana is fake honey. 80 to 90% honey.
Really?
I would not put my I would not put my honey next to fake honey. So you can't buy it in stores. I don't sell it in bulk, so people can mix it down. Right now, you can only get it directly from me. You can Bailey's Bees on TikTok, but. Yeah, I got enough customers right now. Yeah, there's a waiting list.
I love it. I love it.
Not a lot of honey in Guyana.
Guys, my apologies. This is not, please, this is not available. I'm just going to say. Not too many people have the problem of stating they have too many customers. Good problem to have, I guess.
It's a good problem.
Excellent. But we're here nonetheless. And we are here to discuss a little bit of interesting information that you have been giving the public recently. Because believe it or not, outside of your flourishing honey business, you have been doing some wonderful stuff when it comes to investigative research.
Why, thank you very much, my friend. I believe we call it Google.
Google? Investigative research or Google. So nonetheless, we're going to jump right into things because, we already kind of late.
We'll be back.
So tell me. What, first of all, tell me a little bit about what you were researching, and then more importantly, I guess, what kind of triggered the research, the want or the need for this research? I'm talking about your recent posts.
Okay. Was it the recent one on how to chip up a single pak chai leaf fine, so you can feed a family
with a razor blade?
How to fold 2 borat into 4 and then 8 to make that 25,000 one-off payment to the public services, feed you and your family? Or was it the oil blocks we're talking about?
So I don't think too much investigation needed to be done into the ridiculous pak chai leaf.
I'm very offended. Well, you would say my pak chai leaf was ridiculous.
No, the pak chai leaf was not ridiculous. I think the 25,000 was ridiculous.
Oh, exactly. But you needed to show something ridiculous in order to demonstrate how you could use that.
You almost can't answer or respond to those types of things intelligently.
I mean, you can't. You have to
everyone on the planet knows that cost of living has gone up most parts of the world by 50%, 25%, 100%. But these guys have given...
as we say again, we doesn't make do. You know what I'm saying? We apparently we're supposed to make do, but everywhere else cost of living is going up. Even the electricity bill is going up. Yeah. And aren't we making something like 10 to 14 million US a day?
Yeah.
That was an estimate I heard the other day. $25,000. They said it was $1.6 billion. You add all of that money up, it's like one road contract. One road contract to somebody that doesn't really know what they're doing.
That's my big thing with this. So 2 parts I want to talk about when it comes to that. Is that, how is it that you could have ever come up with a sum like $25,000 and thought to yourself, this will substantially impact someone's life? And here, let me just say, I precurse that with saying, I get highly offended when people in this day and age state, you should just be happy you get something.
Yeah, it's something is better than nothing, right? Well, I don't know if you've heard of the Kyoto Protocol. Many of you at home may not have heard about the Kyoto Protocol, but the Kyoto Protocol is exactly what the government uses when they deciding, okay, the public is going to get 25,000. For all you ungrateful people out there, there's a protocol. It's called the Kyoto Protocol. Okay. So what it is pluck it out of thin air, right? That's where they get their figures.
Oh my gosh. I literally...
Pluck it out of thin air. Kyoto. It sounds impressive, right?
On my life,
That's what I'm saying. You thought it was a proper thing, right? It's Kyoto. Pluck it out of thin air. You just, or as the Rasta say, itate. You itate upon it. And you think, what's the lowest sum I could give these people
I do
that they're not
not.
gonna grumble too much. Well, it's something is
What do you mean
better
they're not gonna
than
grumble
nothing.
too much?
Well,
That can't pay an electricity bill. That can't pay. They're barely paying a water bill.
you have
If
too
that.
many light bulbs in your house. You need to just put your fridge on for 1 hour a day. Just chill the meat.
This is the problem.
You don't need to
My
freeze
mistake.
it,
My
right?
mistake.
Yeah, chill the meat. But it is quite insulting, and not even all of the public servants are going to be getting it. The people at CPCE, for instance, I don't think they're getting it. I heard that only teachers with a degree are getting it. It's not across the board. And I do remember a few months ago, the government were in Berbice sharing out money. It amounted, when I calculated it, it came to about like $140 million was shared out in one day. And there
Cash.
were cash. And there were people that were upset because they went there, the government had advertised they were giving out money to small businesses and the like. And it only seemed that certain people were informed. So when people were there waiting for days and didn't get their money, the money had already been shared out.
Wow.
And now we get to the general public and they're like, okay, well, you can make do with the $25,000. While other countries are setting up trust funds for their citizens and giving them dividends, we have opted for a one-off payment. So does that amount, that's just over $2,000 a month if you were to break it down. I think we're going wrong by just, and it's after tax, I think it's like 17,000 something.
So it has to be taxed still again.
Yeah, it still has to be taxed, right? So the $17,000, you break it down, even let's say we don't tax it, you can just over $2,000 a month. What can you honestly,
Right?
do with that?
It's insulting.
Yeah.
I take it a little personal because everyone sits down and says, well, you should be grateful that you get something. And if this same government is what is putting you in these positions that are leaving you with little to nothing to begin with, then giving you little to nothing to say, well, figure it out.
Let me respond to that because I was thinking about it on the drive down from the apiary, right? There's a gentleman, Chris Rahman, he's been all over my comment feeds today on TikTok with this same thing about something is better than nothing. Instead of being grateful and thanking the government for all they're doing for us, we're here complaining. Mind you, you and I, we're entrepreneurs. We're not going to get any of this $25,000. We're not getting anything from this, but we can see it's insulting to the public servants. And he says something is better than nothing. So I promised him a video response when I got to him. This is quite an appropriate forum. But for all of you that, have this idea in your heads that something is better than nothing, you should be grateful for what you have. I want you to think about if you went to the doctor and the doctor told you, hey, I found a malignant tumor, a cancerous mass somewhere in your abdomen. Okay? The first thing you're going to want to do is ask the doctor, hey, I want to get this thing out of me. This is not how my body is supposed to be. It's not wholesome. I want a surgery. Do you expect the doctor to turn around and say, why don't you be grateful that you have arms that are working? Why aren't you grateful that your eyesight is good? You complaining before you start complaining about the cancer. Think about all the other things that are good for you. But we surely know if we leave the cancer unchecked, it will cause our body to gradually deteriorate.
You'll die.
Until the point we die.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the country is going to die, but there are more than a few malignant tumors scattered about this nation in the form of corrupt process and activities. And if we don't take a surgical aim at these problems and investigate them and bring them to the public attention, they are going to spread. Right? So that's what I hear when people come to me and say something is better than nothing. Don't complain. Hush your mouth, Francis.
Well, here, you let's jump straight into the actual topic of, because that 25,000, I really believe that we don't need to discuss it that much. I think that people by now have realized that they ain't got no help out there. Honestly, at the end of the day, these guys, it's almost like a system that they have designed to keep people poor. And
also, I hate to say it, right? We as a people get what we deserve. Nobody wants to hear that. We get what we deserve. And by that, I'm not saying that you deserve the $25,000. What I'm saying is we get what we deserve. We are generally a docile society. We are terribly afraid of our leaders. No matter how many kleptocratic tendencies they display, we are terrified of our leaders. And by and large, most people are scared to speak out because, you could be affected in some way. So they feel comfortable dashing a $25,000 at you. Ask about the compensation that ministers get. Look at the lavish homes that they build for themselves.
Vehicles they drive
the
in.
vehicles that they drive. Okay, politics is something you get into to get wealthy. It's no longer something you get into to serve the people.
Yep.
But until those of you at home that are grumbling about your $25,000, until you're more willing to be vocal about that issue, it will remain. You might get 10,000 next year, and they're gonna say, smile and take it. But let's move on though. I know we want to talk about these.
I know the oil blocks. This is actually a very interesting topic. So what happened is our government recently did a tender out for the remaining oil blocks out in the various offshore. I guess the blocks are already Stabrook and Arnock and a couple and multiple others, right? But what they did is they recently did a tender out for anybody else interested, any more companies to come on board, much like Exxon is doing. And the government got back not as many bids as I know they were expecting, but they got back quite a few interesting responses. And then they went on to approve and award those blocks. Now, you took it upon yourself over the last couple of days to do some research.
Well, because I saw popping up in the news, I saw an article. It says Afro-Guyanese couple awarded oil blocks. Now, what I started the video with when I was explaining it was there have been cries of nepotism, favoritism, cronyism, and even racism in how the opportunities in the oil and gas sector have been doled out by this administration. So I found it odd that it seemed people were going to great pains to let me know Afro-Guyanese, even though I could see these people look
right,
of African origin.
Just in case you were confused.
They had to tell me in case I couldn't see and I could read that Afro-Guyanese got a block. That was one thing. I was like, okay, that's fair. And then I started reading the press release, and there's such a thing as trying too hard. Good. Thou dost protest too much. Okay. And I just got this overwhelming sense reading the article. It's when someone is the sense of someone trying too hard to let you know that they're competent, that they're suited for this role.
Right.
And then they started talking about this international organization. It's 100% Guyanese. Like, okay, well, this is interesting. So I saw the last name of the gentleman, Odoe. I mean, I don't know everyone in Guyana, but I've never in my life encountered an Odoe in Guyana. All sorts of names, Kian.
Not a traditional
Never an
Guyanese
Odoe.
name.
So I was like, I don't know how many Odoes made it over here, but let me just research this gentleman because I was interested. And that's just my nature. If I'm interested in this bottle of water, I want to know the composition of the plastic, what glue is holding the label together, where it is manufactured. This is just how I am. I like to dive into things. The more information I have, the more satisfied I end up feeling until I get to this place. I'm like, okay, I know. So I just had to know. Right. I started typing. I typed Mr. Odoe in, and then I came up with this a few articles, but I found first that he was the honorary consul of Nigeria to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It seems that during they had a hurricane or some natural disaster, and he was fired by the Nigerian government because he was involved in some scandal where he seemed to be trying to raise money for these people. When I checked his name up on the UK government companies register, and then I saw he had a number of companies registered to him. His wife is also has one of these companies registered to him, and it says one of the companies is this overseas workers agricultural thing. Like, it seems like he's trying to raise money through that, and his wife's company for these people that seemed to get his contract terminated by the Nigerian government. While he was the honorary consul to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, he also went back to Nigeria and struck up a deal through another company that he had, not listed on the UK, the company's register, called Zedici Capital Investments. Zedici Capital Investments basically was responsible, according to the paperwork, were responsible for running there's like a government-owned resort in Nigeria. So they took over. There's a 3.6 billion naira debt that was attributed to this project. They were supposed to have revived this series of 5-star hotels, but they pretty much ran it into the ground. You can go and read the staff complaints, and then the Nigerian government had to take into
all this
court.
information, just Google search. You just
Google, my friend. This is what I don't understand. I mean, I've seen a lot of criticism of journalists. I don't have any problem with the journalists in this country, apart from the fact that sometimes I wish they would do a little more investigative work. I wish that more difficult questions were posed to the politicians that we obviously are so scared of. At the same time, I can empathize that some of these, I'm not full. I don't do this thing full time. So nobody can threaten my money. You are not here doing this full time. You have a business.
Right.
We are sort of financially insulated from the effects of criticism. If we criticize, the first thing the government try to do is come after your money.
Right.
Either get you fired, no contracts to you, or whatever. So I don't have any of that fear in me. And I understand why some people working in that sector would naturally be fearful. But if you're scared of these people, you're working in the wrong business, right? But all of this I found on Google. I did not have to go to any secretive dark web websites. I didn't.
So tell me what we concluded from your research.
Well, what I concluded is the man had a number of companies registered to himself. 3 of the 5 of them were dissolved. He said that this investment group was running for 10 years. It's only 3 years old. And according to the UK company register, there's only 1 employee in the company, and they have assets of 100 British pounds. So that immediately raised my eyebrows.
Yeah.
Because that worked out when I checked it out, it was $25,677.98 in Guyanese dollars.
Okay.
I have that. You have that, Kia. Most of you guys out there have $25,000 in your
shell
account.
company that has
It's a shell company. One of them, one is registered to a grimy flat in London. This particular one is registered to a registered office.
So, but the first
service.
lie off the bat is that it's not a Guyanese owned company.
No.
So
he might be married to a Guyanese.
But they gave this oil block to a shell company with no assets, no money, not Guyanese.
His wife seems to be Guyanese. Apparently, she was a caterer for the Region 4 Ministry of Education. That's what I saw, but it says in the article she has an LLB from Nottingham. Maybe she was a caterer before. I don't know. Kudos to her. But she is the Guyanese. She's from BV. Right?
But the company's not Guyanese. The company's registered in England.
It's registered in England. If they've done a local Guyana branch, the parent company is it's registered in England with 100 British pounds in assets. So my question is, why are we not giving normal everyday Guyanese? Why don't we tell the public servants that have just going to collect this 25,000 one-off payment, hey guys, get a block.
Yeah.
Put it in a block. You're grumbling that you can't do anything with this.
That is just pure.
That's all you need. But something is funny.
What do you mean something funny?
It's funny. People don't respond well to the word corruption anymore. People start rolling their eyes.
You know they're not allowed to say it in Parliament?
What?
The word corruption.
Get out of here.
I swear.
Get out of here.
Can you believe that? You cannot say corruption in Parliament.
That's like going to the dentist.
Or calling somebody corrupt.
And they can't say the word teeth.
It's crazy.
Right?
If there's a list of words you're not allowed to say in Parliament, and corrupt is one of them. Can you believe that?
Perhaps it doesn't exist, or maybe we found a more euphemistic way of saying it. But yes, it reeks. It reeks. This particular situation reeks, and it's highly offensive. Listen, I don't mind if you come straight up and you say a Guyanese company, but it's constituted of this Nigerian gentleman, this Guyanese woman, blah, 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 blah. You're honest. It's been around for 3 years. We've given them a chance. It seems he's running from the legal consequences of his court case with the Nigerian government. Right. He's come and gotten citizenship here. He can't go to St. Vincent because he's involved in a scandal there. Right. Wherever he has gone, he is involved in some scandal, and he's come to Guyana. So my problem is, if you have a track record of failed companies behind you, for the Zidichi Capital Investment Project in Odua, in Nigeria, there were complaints he didn't pay the workers properly. So all of these things, if you're doing due diligence, why would you award an oil block to somebody like that with such a patchy, tattered record? If you really did want to give the private sector play, There are scores of Guyanese that are way more qualified, way more responsible, that we could say the navel string bury a Guyana. So if something were to go wrong, we're not so fearful that these people would just pick up, pack up, and run out of the country. Which is what I believe. If something were to happen with this, they've been awarded these shallow water oil blocks, right? If something were to happen in the course of them exploring these blocks and they have a history of cutting corners, I'm very worried. What's my guy going to do? He's going to get on a plane and run away, and Guyanese are going to be left to pick up the pieces.
Absolutely.
That is highly problematic.
But I think we really need to understand that the level of corruption that we are talking about here, just based on this extremely basic research that you have done, within a day or two from behind your computer.
Not a day or two, an hour and a half.
Wow.
Not a day or two. I sat down there, I spent an hour and a half on it, and I went from St. Vincent, and Google is amazing. I even used the street view to go down to the ground level and
to see the office.
And then I zoom in on the office to look at the furniture, right? So if I can do it, I am a regular Joe. We use a flatfoot, regular person. I would expect the same of at least the journalists, and at very least the people that are signing the paperwork to give away our birthright, to give away our natural resources.
And these people, but what's important about this, and I think you need to hammer this point home, is it's not that these people put in a bid. These people won the bid, succeeded in getting an oil block.
So if it's not corrupt, right? Because I know the word has been removed from the register now, right? If it's, shall I say rupt? If it's not rupt, then it means every Guyanese has an opportunity, okay? But you and I both know this is not the case.
Right.
You and I can't just walk in there with $25,000, one employee registered to our company, having submitted no accounts,
right.
100 pounds in assets, and get an oil block. That is inconceivable. So where are these guys getting their funding?
What have they shown as financial credentials?
The story has not been completely
it's
not been completely
corruption.
explored. I'm sort of handing it over to the journalists or the other investigators to continue the story. Like, we need to follow the money.
But this is what I always say. Just like that $211 million that they get catch writing off for Exxon. How much more is passing? How much more are we not seeing?
Well, actually, I think we could see a lot of the money because there's a mad rush to do infrastructure projects right now. Everywhere you look, there are billions of dollars being expended on infrastructure projects. Billions and billions of dollars. And I think you might have to do a whole other show just on the condition of the infrastructure.
All right.
Or the quality of works that...
well, we can get to that in a second, but I want to stick to the oil for a second. And I gave the our technicians a clip of the Oil Now headline that states that the ExxonMobil, as some of us like to call it, ExxonMobil, completes US $1.26 billion purchase of Liza Unity FPSO. This is in the news today, as you can tell, November 19, 2023. But let me tell you something. I want to call it out first here. This is in the news today. Okay, I want to call this thing out now. I want to predict what's going to happen here.
Go on.
This money, 1.26 billion US dollars for Liza Unity, which is the first FPSO we had out there, is going to be cost recoverable. Okay? This is what I call it, okay? Going to be cost recoverable, which means it's going to come out of cost oil. All right? Which means Exxon is basically going to get a free FPSO. All right? Because this is not a Guyana included. This is not the group of companies. Right?
And break it down.
Yes. Hold on. Let me finish. Hold on.
Go on.
Let me just finish off my train. After Exxon has now gotten this FPSO, they're going to continue to pump oil. All right? And Guyana and CNOOC and Hess, the group of companies, are going to have to pay a rental fee to Exxon to use this FPSO. So Exxon is going to make money on using our money, which they just used to purchase an FPSO. And then what's going to happen is the audits are going to be done so far in advance, in the past, that by the time it comes up that money Exxon has used to purchase the FPSO and then has been using it wrongfully, at that point in time, they're going to have made back all of the money tenfold, and that'll be the end of it. And they can say, you know what, let me just cut the deal. Look back your 1.26 FPSO. Yeah, I could keep that now.
It's giving Troy resources.
It's giving Troy resources kind of vibe.
It's giving Troy resources.
How you could tell me that Exxon, as the sole company, has purchased this FPSO and not the group of companies? Explain that to me.
I can't explain that to you, Kian. That's just the point. I can't explain why.
Because our money, let's make that clear, our money is what paid, it's cost oil, that is what paid for that FPSO.
So, I'm just hearing
Exxon recovers all their money.
The critics in my head, okay? Explain, that's what I was going to ask you, to break it down, the people that will not understand, why are you making the claim that you think this will be cost recoverable?
Why do I think it will be?
Why do you think it will be?
Well, first off the bat, we all know how the contract is lopsided. What in the contract is not cost recoverable?
Everything seems to be cost
They're
recoverable.
not even taxed.
Even entertainment.
Hold on. Oh my gosh. I should bring this thing back up because I'm sure I brought it up already. If I could only find it. We paid, it was in a recent show, for all of you that follow me and watch the show weekly. It can't even be 3 weeks ago. They came out with the audit that said they spent over $100 million on education for the expats, for the oil workers, families and children.
It must be very bright. $100 million in education.
I need to find that thing. I'm so. Oh, that's right here.
So what they?
Sorry, there. It was. I'm sorry,
money,
Guyana dollars. My point. Right. Exxon built. Let me send it back. We're gonna bring it up to the. With
that money, you could probably resurrect Einstein.
Here, I'm bringing it back up just to explain. I'm sorry, guys. I just sent it to the phone there. Just so you can understand. Here, and you can read with me. Exxon built Guyana, $10.3 million US for private drivers, and US $2.2 million in school fees for their oil workers' children.
Where are they going to school?
Where
are these children going
I have no idea. But what I want to say is, you asked me why I think this money is going to be cost recoverable. If these people recovering the school fees to the children, you tell me the whole rig not going to be cost recoverable?
Go-kart rides.
Go-kart rides.
Yes.
Right, that came up too, actually. You're exactly right.
Right.
So I want to show how we are looking at something like that. Oh, Exxon has now... What do you mean Exxon has purchased the entire FPSO? With which money? And now that Exxon owns it, does that imply that we are now going to be paying Exxon to rent it? I thought Exxon is a partner in this company.
As far as I'm concerned, before Exxon got here, Guyana had an opportunity to assess their record globally. Yes, it's a leading oil and gas company in the world. They have had their fair share of oil spills and the like. We had the opportunity to look at deals that they've done with other countries and set ourselves in the best possible position. I don't get upset with Exxon, to be honest with you.
They're a private company.
They're business. They come in here to fill their pockets, right? The people that we need to be upset with are the guardians, the people we have elected and appointed representatives of our collective interest, our natural resources, and therein to protect and safeguard those things, to make sure we are getting a favorable deal when we have to strike a deal, to make sure that contracts are weighted, if not completely in our interest, as much as possible in our interest. And I don't believe those things have been done across the board. So the people I am upset with are the government and also the opposition, right? They collectively...
Who were the government at the time the deal was signed?
Okay, so you don't get to... the opposition don't get to conveniently sit on the sidelines and point fingers at the PPP and say, oh, you guys are messing up. You all did your own share of messing up. You're all responsible. And it beggars belief that I could come to you. Let's say you had 5 tons of gold in your backyard, okay? And your family elected that, listen, Kian is going to stand at the gate and give out rights to come and get this gold. It's inconceivable to your family that a man's going to roll up and I will say, here what? I want rights to half of the gold in there. I'm going to give you $1 million. $1 million. Right? And that's really what is happening. And we know in every sector of this country, from housing straight through, money is passing under the table, sometimes even above the table. It's a culture of corruption in this country. So if some money, and it's just that we don't have that back door to see. I was thinking when I was looking at this, the researching this company that we were talking about, not our company, this sham company, the Shell. When I was researching international group investment, it occurred to me, I was like, where can I go online to find a comparable Guyanese company register? I typed your name. Where could I find the history of whatever companies you've opened and shuttered? And we're in the dark, almost completely in the dark. So it's very easy to give away resources, not to be able to follow the money where it's going. And the government know this. They know that they're safeguarded by the opaque nature of our system. So if somebody takes a kickback in order to allow something else to pass, to write off perhaps the $200 and something million, it's very hard for us to keep them accountable and honest. And something I wanted to talk about, because we keep hearing, I hear Glenn Lal a lot talking about how we've been wronged with this thing. But what are people supposed to do? What are people supposed to do? If you're at home, you're upset about this, what would you tell people to do?
Right.
Would you tell them to write, to go and does protest even work anymore? Standing up on the street? I don't know. Jury's out on that one. I don't know if it works.
But I can tell
hit
you.
And miss.
I'll tell you. A long time ago, at no point in time has any of these two governments that have ruled this country, PNC, APNU, or PPP, not been corrupt. We all know this. There's no secret about it. We watch money.
Hold on. I try and pretend to look shocked.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we know that corruption exists, and anybody that denies it is probably part and parcel of it. And what I find interesting is when you sit down and you say, well, this one is more corrupt than this one. I always remember your shit soup analogy, right? One got 100% shit inside, the other one got 99%. I don't know about you, but I don't like no shit in this soup, right? I like 0% shit. But nonetheless, what I find very funny about this is that it is such a simple solution. Take power away from politicians. Okay? Now, how do you do that? What do you mean? How do you just take power away? They're the ones that run the country. All it takes is one little pencil strike. Change your vote. And here is my motto. Vote anyone except PPP and PNC. Anyone.
Very radical, Kian.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. As you go to the car, you're ducking bullets.
How I can. What madness I'm talking. So all of you out there that cannot figure out how to stop corruption, how to ensure that you get, as a Guyanese, what you are entitled to, if you know that money coming in rapid fire and you ain't seeing nothing, change your vote. That's all I can tell you. And what that does is it spreads the power around, so no one group or organization has all the power.
Pero Kian, ahora necesitamos hablar en español porque los venezolanos... We gotta say this in Spanish as well, because I mean, Barrett been reaching. Remember, Barrett been meeting with the Venezuelans, so
this conversation got in a different direction.
It gone different, yeah. But what you're saying change your votes, right? And I'm telling you, we have a new voting bloc in this country now.
A Venezuelan voting
voting bloc, right? So, in a sense, I was reflecting on it today. It's like, people are upset about the oil contracts. You're upset about a number of things. But what if our vote doesn't really matter? Whether you're PPP or PNC, because they just import so many Venezuelans, it doesn't matter. and you tell them all the opposition parties, because that's part of what was going on there, saying that the opposition is xenophobic, they don't want Venezuelans in the country. So this is already an early play for 2025. Okay? So we can't just tell people, it's not just good enough to tell people to change your vote. Right? You gotta do it in English and Spanish. Like how we got the police van is police and policia.
So well, tell me on a serious note, how you or what you think is occurring when it comes to the Venezuelan immigrants.
In what sense?
Like, you believe that they're coming in and they're all being, or a lot of them, are being given Guyanese citizenship?
Oh, well, a request has been made for statistics that explain fully how many of these people have been given automatic citizenship. Yes, indeed, there are a lot of Guyanese that moved over to Venezuela in the 70s
correct.
that do have rights to come back here by right. Okay? Their children, what's the nationality or the status of their children who've not lived in this country all their lives? Are they going to be allowed to be naturalized? Again, there is no clarity on this.
Just help me out here. I recall something not too long ago in which the PPP were claiming that APNU was doing this with the Haitians.
Are or were doing this with the Haitians?
Were. Well, I don't think they can still do it.
Have they presented any evidence?
But that's what they claim. They said that they're bringing in all of these Haitians to change the voting statistics.
To change the voting block? I definitely know that there are
PPP
Haitians.
said that pre-2020 election.
Yeah, definitely. But where are all the Haitians? We should be walking around hearing...
So hold on. What you are telling me is the PPP now are accepting all of these Venezuelans, in your opinion, eh?
They're practically doing the same thing they've accused the coalition of doing. And mind you, I know how Guyana is so polarized. Not because I'm talking about the Venezuelans means that I agree in any way. If it is true, I would like to see some evidence to evidence the claim. But if it is true that thousands and thousands of Haitians were brought into this country, show us where they are and just present the evidence. And yes, that is admonishable. Nobody should be importing thousands of people from any country to try and change the voting outcomes, okay? Especially from Venezuela, given that we have a saber-rattling, aggressive neighbor, and we are practically importing lots of people with military training. There's food cards I can see on Sheriff Street that have the map of Venezuela, including Essequibo. So
we're writing policia on our cars.
We're writing policia on our cars. So if we're not planning on just outright giving away Guyana, I feel it's a very dangerous game. I would even rather the PPP said, hey, let's take some people from Gaza, right? I feel terrible for those Palestinians right now. I don't have any problem. You want bringing some refugees, even if, look, the Venezuelans are in a tough position. I have no problem with humanitarian aid, with us allowing some of those people to settle here. Citizenship is another issue. That is some time. You'll spend the 5 years here, get in with the culture and the like, but no automatic citizenship unless you are a Guyanese and you moved away, you've come back, you haven't, you're still a Guyanese, right? But I would like to know how this whole thing is being orchestrated. I don't want to make presumptions. I'm just saying I would love the data that's been requested to be put on the table, because it doesn't seem there's even a clear picture of how many Venezuelans are in the country. So before we turn our head 2 times and the demographic of the country has shifted so drastically because there are millions of Venezuelans. This is the issue. There's less than 1 million Guyanese here. But I think at last count it was like 20-something million.
Yeah,
almost 30 million people in Venezuela. So 10% of their population dwarfs ours. Okay? So that is the real issue at play. Whether we are so desperate to get these people to come here to vote for one party or the other, because both parties can go vie for these people.
Yeah, exactly.
But we are advertising to the Venezuelans that there is a wedge that can be driven in Guyanese politics. And that is not something we need to be saying to our neighbor at a time like this, when there's military build-ups on our border.
Posturing, yeah.
No.
Absolutely. That's an interesting take on this Venezuela matter. I was listening to an interview recently on Venezuelan TV, and it was translated. It was a clip that was going around, And the conversation was quite interesting, in which, well, the first thing I'd like to say is it was amazing to me how closely Venezuela is watching what Guyana is doing. Like every single move, like every letter that's written, every person, like the response from the OAS, the response from Exxon. They made claims that Exxon is paying for our legal bills to fight it. They made claim, they even, and this is one that I, has been weighing on my head. They even made a comment that our president, Irfan Ali, went on stage in Esquibo in a military outfit. And I kind of went, I've been back and forth with what message are you trying to send? Because, again, at no point in time should the idea of war or physical altercation be even, cross our minds, right? We should never ever strive for that. And walking on stage in a military outfit with the chief of staff behind you kind of states, I'm ready to fight. And don't get me wrong.
But hear me
out. But hold on, I don't blame. I think we're all ready to fight for Guyana, but as a diplomatic position, and we're going the ICJ route. We're going the
CCJ.
No, ICJ.
No, ICJ. My bad. Yeah.
Right. We're going the ICJ route. The truth is, we have to depend on the rule of law. You cannot then say, well, we're going to play this on both sides and say, I wear a military outfit.
Well, you see, I have no problem with posturing like that, except we don't have the action to back up the talk, well, so to speak. We are outmatched. Let's be honest about it. We're outmatched where it comes to military readiness, military assets.
Us personally, yes, but we do have allies like Brazil that can assist in this line, right?
Listen, my interpretation, I was looking at the battlefield, the global battlefield. People are not intervening in Ukraine as the Ukrainians would have thought and wanted them to. People are not intervening in Palestine right now, in Gaza, as the Gazans would like, as the Palestinians would like them to. People were not intervening in Syria in the same way. America went in there and they struggled to get out. They left, okay? When there is conflict between countries and there is a mismatch in their combat readiness and even their military assets, I don't think it's always a pertinent thing to automatically assume we're going to get backings from whichever country.
Correct.
Given that Exxon has assets offshore and I can imagine that America will try to protect their assets. Guyana is another story. Remember, this whole place, let's be frank, this whole place could caught up in war, and they can still pump oil 24/7.
Do it all over the world.
It doesn't affect
Iraq
them.
and all over the place.
It doesn't affect them, okay? So we can't just naturally assume that we're going to have allies. As a matter of fact, they benefit a lot of times. They benefit, right? That we're going to have allies to come to our rescue. So if Irfan Ali, yes, he wants to put on a military outfit or whatever, I think we do have to go the diplomatic route, because we don't have a lot of other options. We can't look to Brazil or look to Americans.
We can't depend on anyone.
We can't depend on them. We have to depend on ourselves.
Well, let me ask a question to you. Do you think that the government right now should be spending more money on military equipment?
Hell yeah.
Yeah?
Yes, we should. We should have a deterrent. I'm not saying we need to go as far as having nuclear armaments, but Guyana needs to have a better developed military force.
Yeah.
It is not a military you can look at in terms of the assets and respect it. It's not. We have no air superiority or any air presence in the air at all. I don't know what those 3 helicopters are going to do. We're going to pelt brick at the MiGs or something? No. So we don't have a fighting chance as it is. So yes, some money should be spent on shoring up our military in terms of the assets and how well equipped they are. We need to be aware that they have informants from Venezuela right here. That's how they're always ferrying information back to Maduro and his guys, right? And we also need to be cognizant that we must pursue diplomatic routes wherever possible, but I don't think they're interested in that. They're quite aggressive in their posturing.
I am curious about your position on it. I'll be very honest with you.
Go on.
you know, this is your opinion
Hear
on
me
the,
out.
on the
Let me
current
tell you
scenario.
why, right? Because this mi mapa de Venezuela incluyo nuestra Essequibo, that group that originally had made the first incursion to Etcheringbank like a few years ago. So I became friends with one of the guys in that group. We were like adversaries for a while. We would debate. I recorded a couple of debates with him. One of the guys' name was Carlos. He's a lawyer, right? He's one of the people very much involved in that group. And through our interactions and then even off screen, we talk sometimes. I got to understand just how radical. I don't think Guyanese understand just how radical this group is, how well organized, how many people are a part of it. So we start to think it starts like a fringe thing in Venezuela. These people are out there signing up people in the military. They're in the schools teaching the young people that, hey, your map of this country includes this Essequibo, teaching you to draw it. And they're like, so we need to take it seriously. I don't think we're taking it as seriously in Guyana as they're taking it in Venezuela.
I like that comment. And you know, I think what's important sometimes is that you have very open and frank conversations like this. A lot of people might say, you know, it's a tricky situation to discuss these types of things. But I think as a country, any education and understanding of the matter is important. We have to be, as well, you and I, sitting here on camera, we have to be very cautious in understanding that, as I said, everything is being watched, everything is being heard. And we can give suggestions, but I think everything when it comes to these types of matters has to be not necessarily critical of what's currently happening, but more in a manner of productive, in a manner of making sure that this is where we are, this is where we stand, and this is what could be done. Right? The reason I say these types of things, and I'll say this very frankly, because it is a problem in the country, not enough of a consultative process is occurring when it comes to these types of issues. Right? We have very private conversations and everybody's sitting down and people are panicking in their homes, but conversations need to be had. All right? We have to understand where we are. We have to understand why this is happening, and we have to understand what the best route is moving forward. So education, as I'm trying to remember, I think it was Gail Teixeira, said that a robust education plan needs to be put in place to teach Guyanese about the border controversy, about where Guyana currently stands, and what can happen and what should happen.
The Venezuelans are by and large far more educated on the history of this arbitration than the average Guyanese. They can go right back to this court case that happened in 1970 thing and this date and this guy made this signature. And they are well armed with information in a way that we are not. So
it's something that needs to happen.
At least a mismatch. Okay, it's something that needs to happen. They take it extremely seriously. It's not good enough for us to just say Essequibo is we own. That's a bit tired now. Not a blade of grass. That's a bit tired now. We need to go a little bit further. And in terms of like, okay, some concrete things. Here's something I've thought about. People mightn't be happy for me saying this, right? Every single time I go to Essequibo, like, and I go on the ferry and I have to drive back, I remember on a number of occasions the chaos at the ferry terminal to just get back to Georgetown. And I often thought it's more difficult to get to Essequibo than it is to get to Suriname. Okay? So we also need to be serious about linking our counties, making sure that it feels like it's a part of Guyana, because sometimes it feels like it's another country. Okay?
I like the comment.
If Essequibo is we own, make it we own. Right? Give out some free land down there and send Guyanese there to go develop. If you want a larger Guyanese presence on the border,
a fantastic opinion.
Give out free land. Say, yo, go and build up build a presence on the border.
Essequibo.
This
Absolutely.
is Guyanese. That and Coco, the island that the Venezuelans come back. How did we get that island back decades ago and fail to develop it? Put some sort of base there that the Venezuelans... I've seen signs, the people put up signs on the island in Spanish. We've squandered those opportunities. So while we're looking at arbitration, we're looking at diplomatic avenues for resolution. I also believe that we must have some sort of deterrent. We may not be able to match the Venezuelans. They were once the 6th richest country in the world, okay? We are not going to be able to match them militarily, but we must improve our military somewhat to offer some sort of deterrent.
Okay.
The geography of Essequibo is our biggest savior right now. Okay, it's very difficult to penetrate all that jungle to get all their military assets if they were to try and launch an attack at us, right? But we need to be cautious about it. I'm not saying go drop bombs on them or that we should start a war. I'm a peace-loving person. However, we must be cognizant of the threat that is right next to us and not play into it. We must try our best to move in the other direction.
I like this conversation a lot, and I know it's a very touchy topic for a lot of people, rightfully so. But as I said before, and you know, if you're now tuning in and understanding, these conversations need to be had now here in Guyana. The conversation of Guyana's sovereignty needs to be held. All right, we need to have consultative processes and conversations in which everybody can get on board as a collective. It cannot be one group moving in one direction and the other one, as is traditional here in Guyana, whether politically or socially.
I will say one other thing as well. The Spanish, we Guyanese always like talking about the Spanish people.
Yeah.
The Spanish, okay? They have become the new exploited class in our society, okay? Whether it's construction, security, a number of industries, I see the Venezuelan people being exploited,
right.
Okay? So Guyanese need to be cognizant of the fact as well that we have potential allies and enemies in anyone that we encounter, any group of people. So yes, I do believe in listening to our hearts, being compassionate, empathetic with the struggles and the suffering of our Venezuelan hermanos y hermanas, and we should be kind to those people. We should be kind to them, because when the day comes, if Venezuela decides they want to send some more troops over the border or whatever it is, every ally that we can make from Venezuela that is here, living here, is someone that can advocate directly to their own population for reasons they should not come and invade us.
Yeah.
You understand? We've been living here for 5-10 years. These Guyanese have treated us well. You know, we're part of this society here now. Why would you want to come?
As a matter of fact, this is our home now.
The solidarity, right?
Yeah.
That's what we need to be building, and not because I saw a video the other day. Some Spanish people had stolen something. There was a crime or something, and a man made them strip naked and walk down the road.
Yeah.
Right?
Those things are unacceptable.
I don't see people doing that to Guyanese, and we must be cognizant of the fact we are going to be building animosity over time.
Absolutely.
So how we treat these people that have come here
and
in desperate times and try to make this their home, how we treat these people now will have an impact later down in this very conflict when we need allies and we need advocates.
And just to be specific on that matter, we're not saying that anybody needs to be tolerant of crime.
No, not at all.
But what I'm saying is you cannot be inhumane to people at the same time.
Don't try to exploit people because they're not speaking your language or they're not from here.
Yeah.
And also
they don't know
remember,
nobody. They don't got no links.
Venezuelans were also very hospitable to Guyanese when we were moving across to that country in droves.
And when that country was flourishing.
Good. So for the people are like, oh, y'all get out. We want no Spanish people here.
No.
We were the Spanish people. We were the English.
Yeah, not that long
in
ago.
Venezuela, not that long ago.
On that note, guys, this is an extremely, you know, I think we ended on a very lovely topic here, and I really appreciate the conversation on a different perspective, because I think that's what needs to happen more of. All right, on that note, guys, sorry we ran a little late, but we do have to close up shop now, Francis. Thank you for my Bailey's Bees Pure Honey.
Hide it.
hide it. It's like gold, liquid gold.
It's lovely, yeah.
But nonetheless, we're going to be back here next Friday. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and appreciate all the comments and weighing in. That number on the screen is there. You can text it or WhatsApp it as you please. I'll be happy to, you know, continue conversations with people throughout the week, not just now. And on that note, again, thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you for joining us again. This is aPolitically Incorrect. My name is Kian, and thank you for joining us. Take care.